Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your filthy casual place for all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am your host, Dylan Lasagna. This is episode number 149 of this icy yet spicy podcast. Today, I thought we'd take, a very quick detour of 2023 NFL season preview month because I guaranteed all of you a review, it may be late out of date though, of 2023 WWE Money in the Bank. So this show happened this past Saturday on July 1st, all the way overseas in the United Kingdom, in London, mate. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing here in this episode. So I have a lot to say about the show, to be honest with you. That took place in the afternoon, to be honest. And I was not able to catch that show live because, I do things on a Saturday, whether it's here at home or with my family. So, yeah, I managed to catch up on it, and wow, I'm glad I stayed off social media because I guess the good thing, Twitter, this new thing with Twitter, it's pretty terrible, but the positive thing was with this new rate limit exceeded, or whatever it's called, it kept me away from looking at it and seeing all the stuff I was going to be spoiled with. And thank God, because this show, it wasn't an amazing show. I'll just say that. But let's just say there were a couple of surprises that met me. Wow, okay, they did that. So that's what we're going to be talking about here on today's episode of Very Cold Lasagna. Before we get into things, a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure you follow the show on social media at Very Cold Lasagna on Twitter and Instagram. If you're listening to this on audio, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you rate and review the show. It helps me improve the show, or you just want to leave some feedback. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. And yeah, I really appreciate all the support that's been going around however you get your podcasts on Very Cold Lasagna. So I really appreciate the support that you all have been giving me. So let's keep it going. Let's keep that gravy train going with that Very Cold Lasagna, shall we? So now let's get into the main meat and potatoes of this episode, and that is my late, out-of-date 2023 WWE Money in the Bank review. So we take a quick detour away from our NFL season preview coverage here on Very Cold Lasagna. And as I promised, give you a review of this WWE Money in the Bank show. So in regards to this show, at least going in, I wasn't exactly feeling most of it. I say most of it because there's obviously one particular match that I was mainly interested in. One major story that I was highly interested in, and obviously that story being the Bloodline. What was going on with that family feud going on in the WWE? And it was about to come to a head in a match dubbed the Bloodline Civil War. Like WWE's take on Captain America Civil War. Yeah, that Marvel movie. But no, seriously, that was the one match that I was heavily interested in. But as for the rest of the card, it was, I don't know. Most of it didn't have a lot of backstory in it. I mean, obviously, the ladder matches, there's not too much you can do in terms of storytelling. But as for the other matches, yeah, it's a little hard to dictate why WWE cannot tell a story, especially considering with their past recent history in trying to build up towards a pay-per-view. Yeah, they just can't do it. There are no, stories, characters, weekly TV. They somehow can't do it. So, yeah, going in, I was just this is going to be a long wait till we get to the main event. And I'm not sure even if the main event can salvage this show. So, of course, we had the actual titular Money in the Bank ladder matches on the men's side and the women's side. I'll talk about the intrigue of both sides because you had a couple of names here and there, but for the most part it was going in, it was just okay. So this took place in the O2 Arena in London, as I talked about. It took place on Saturday, July 1st, this past Saturday, and if you're living here on the West Coast, that's a large ass time difference. I think 8 hours. So that aired on like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was just like, yeah, I was doing stuff on a Saturday. I was like, I wasn't able to catch that live, but at least I was able to catch up on it and talk about it with you here. So that being said, enough with the rambling. Let's get into this actual review, shall we? Before we talk about the first match, I want to point out that with these stage setups that they're doing for like these major pay-per-views like Backlash, Royal Rumble, and then now they're doing it with SummerSlam and Money in the Bank, I really don't like it. I really hate it. And they sure like Triple H said in the post show presser that, oh, they like the minimalist setup, but I really hate it. I really don't like it because it just comes off, it shows that WWE is lazy. They're uncreative. They're just basically Mr. Krabs, Eugene H. Krabs. It just shows that they don't want to put effort and, like, I hate to say it, money to create like these unique stages that like they used to back in the day. And yeah, even though, yeah, it was a lot of money, but hell, if you're going to do something like Money in the Bank every single year, it's like you could at least use it next year. It's like as if you don't like need to like make something like new every single year for Money in the Bank, unless if it's like a specific like theme you really want to incorporate into that stage. But either way, these tunnel like baseball entrances are just really, really lazy and cheap. Because also with the fact that everything just looks cramped. like the stage looks cramped, the ringside area looks cramped. Like, and that's just my opinion because that's how I saw it. It just looks cramped. And I'll get into this later, but some entrances just looked awkward. Certain entrances just looked awkward without the pyro. And I get it. You're trying to fill out the arena, but WWE, at least have a creative stage, man. Like, it just looks lazy. It really does. So anyway, let's get into our first matchup on the card. We opened the show with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, breaking away tradition from the last couple of years. Your participants were Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight, the fan favorite, Santos Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, and everyone's most hated wrestler right now, Logan Paul. So I said a couple of times that this match was either going to come down to LA Knight or Logan Paul. But I also, I think, mentioned that don't count out Damian Priest as like a very dark horse in this match. And, you know, going into this match, LA Knight got the biggest ovation from the London crowd, while Logan Paul got the most hated reaction, as obviously. And to start off the match, he got beat up by everybody. And then from there, a lot of crazy shit happened from the beginning. Like Butch beating up everyone with the cricket paddle. And then you had Logan Paul teaming up with Damian Priest, only to have his partnership ended with like trying to high five him. That was kind of weird. And then Ricochet took like a crazy ass dive to Butch, Escobar, and then Damian Priest through like a small ass ladder. Like shit, he like literally like weaseled his way through there. Like, man, that was crazy. And then you had Logan Paul frog splashing onto Damian Priest onto a wedge ladder, and then he still got "You Suck" chants from the London crowd. Like he's doing everything in this matchup, and yet they're still chanting "You suck." Ungrateful asses in London, man. And then there's that one usual let's get everyone in a circle jerk spot while Butch dives onto everyone from the top of the ladder. So towards the end of the match, they were trying to go for this spot where Logan Paul and Ricochet were supposed to go through the two tables that Paul and Damian Priest set up. But man, this looked really bad. Like this is gonna look like it's gonna seriously injure both Logan Paul and Ricochet, because LA Knight did push them off the ladder, but it looked like they really rushed through this spot because Logan Paul and Ricochet weren't like in like complete position to take that bump, because like there were like a couple of rungs down from where they need to be. So what ended up happening is that they did avoid a disaster by saving themselves on the ropes with their feet, but it looked like they could have slipped. And then Ricochet had to improv by hitting a Spanish fly onto Logan Paul. But even then, that was botched too because Logan Paul landed head first. I was like, fuck. He could have gotten seriously injured, but I'm just glad the only injury that he came out with was just like a scratch on his back. So still very risky, very dangerous. Like if you're not sure if you're going to go through that kind of spot, like don't do it, because for Logan Paul and Ricochet, that was like, could have ended really badly. So towards the end, the end of the match saw LA Knight make one last rally. He was like taking out everybody. And then it seemed like the fans in London were about to explode because LA Knight was going to have his moment. He was going to grab the briefcase. He was going to have this magic moment like it was the March Madness tournament. However, Damian Priest spoiled the party with the Falcon Arrow off the ladder, and then he would unhook the briefcase and completely silence the crowd to become Mr. Money in the Bank. So, honestly, I mean, this match was not bad. I think it was pretty solid. Even though it didn't really have too much star power other than Logan Paul, but this was pretty solid. I'd say the first half of this match, like they started off really hot with all those crazy ass spots and a lot of the wrestlers taking like badass bumps. I just can't overlook the fact that the end, like towards the end, it just kind of got sloppy a bit. And Ricochet and Logan Paul could have seriously gotten hurt. So, I just can't overlook that. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that the match wasn't bad. I mean, it's still solid. It's just like those spots could have seriously gotten them hurt. So people may have been disappointed that LA Knight lost, but considering that he had been losing prior to the month of June, I'd say like he kind of doesn't need it right now. Let him build himself back up with like a mid-card title run. Maybe face Logan Paul at SummerSlam, and then maybe face Austin Theory for the U.S. title if he's U.S. champion by then. I don't know, but either way, you need to build LA Knight like gradually, because rushing through a briefcase is not going to help you. And yeah, kind of hypocritical to say with Damian Priest too, because he was losing. He was eating pinfalls for the last month or two. And yeah, considering he lost to Bad Bunny as well. So either way, it's like people didn't want Logan Paul to win, but I guess people backstage also didn't want LA Knight to win. So they kind of had to meet a middle ground here with Damian Priest, which again, it's kind of not of a bad option either. It's kind of a compromise. So, and also it serves the purpose of that story with creating tension with Finn Balor and Damian Priest, and with Priest potentially leaving the group, getting kicked out from the group if he tries to cash in on whoever the World Heavyweight Champion is, and especially if it's Finn Balor. So the question is, are fans going to get truly invested, like actual fans, truly going to get invested in that moment? That remains to be seen. But from here, WWE really has to like start rebuilding back up Damian Priest. Have him stack some wins up, because yeah, having him take L's after L's and then suddenly gain the briefcase, yeah, not a good look, if you ask me. So then we had the next matchup, which was the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line, as the champions Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler took on the previous champions that technically never lost their championships, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. God, can I just say first that UK gear Liv was wearing, spicy. Very spicy. Very spicy, pal. Just as spicy as the London crowd was feeling for her. Hell yeah. So anyway, throughout this match, I mean, it was okay, like a very basic tag team matchup. Ronda and Shayna, I don't know why I have that down here. Ronda and Shayna would heavily target Liv's previously injured shoulder for most of this matchup, but she would eventually get the hot tag to Raquel. And I gotta say, she put on some pretty clean offense on Ronda. Got the UK crowd awakened. They got them going. And then she tagged Liv back in, even with the injured shoulder. And she would take even more damage from the former UFC stars. So that was kind of an odd choice by Raquel to tag Liv back in, with taking that risk for her team. I don't know. So Raquel would wake up a potential double submission tap out that Ronda and Shayna were putting on Liv, like with an ankle lock and then like an arm bar of sorts. But then Raquel would be stopped from tagging in Morgan by Ronda Rousey on the outside, and then Shayna would lock in the Kirifuda clutch on Liv, but she would escape it. But then all that would do was have Ronda Rousey tag herself in, and then, well, everyone, including Liv Squad, was about to lose their shit. They're about to lose their shit because they knew Liv's fate was going to be sealed here. Because just like at the house shows that people were so worried about, I don't know why, and her arm was about to be snapped, and Liv was going to be sent back to her Wonderland Ranch. For whatever reason, from the shock of Liv, the crowd, and just about everyone watching this damn match, including me, Shayna Baszler, out of nowhere, blindsides Ronda Rousey, and then she just attacks her, locks in the Kirifuda clutch, as Liv Morgan is just like shocked, like what the fuck is happening? And yeah, Ronda Rousey's just like passed out from the Kirifuda clutch that her former best friend now just applied on her. So as Shayna just left, the door has now been opened for Liv and Raquel to finish off Ronda Rousey with the Tejana Bomb Oblivion combo to regain the titles that they never lost. As, well, Liv Squad, you can now breathe, you can now relax. Liv Morgan is now a 2-time tag team champion, and she pinned Ronda Rousey 3 times, and nearly on the day a year ago that her magic moment was born. But as for this match, I was fully expecting Ronda and Shayna to retain here, considering, they were literally just seconds away from sending Liv back on the disabled list. But damn, this was a whole nother level of surprising. There were like no leaks, no rumors, not even any teases on the show that this moment was gonna happen at all. I mean, again, not that I care so much about Shayna Baszler, but this was just so sudden. Like, this was very soon, don't you think? But I can't say it. I'll admit, I was very surprised. It was a pleasant surprise that this didn't get leaked out, this didn't get rumored, this didn't even get teased. But wasn't it kind of soon, don't you think? Because they did just win the women's tag team titles a month ago, and then they were very critical about, wanting to reestablish some whatever credibility is left in those tag team titles that never seem to have enough women to, actually defend those titles against. But that's besides the point. It's just I thought this would happen a little bit later down the line when, they were on a losing streak, or when, Ronda was really starting to take advantage of Shayna. I don't know. A little later down the line than let's say next year's WrestleMania. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to stretch it too long. But either way, I guess they are going towards what they consider a major match at SummerSlam in a month. And that's, of course, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler finally facing each other. The former UFC stars going at each other, pal, in Detroit. Oh, the Detroit Lions will really like that, pal. So it's also weird, considering that Raquel Rodriguez has been teasing going after Rhea Ripley. But then, nobody knew that Liv Morgan was going to be back this soon. I certainly didn't. And then she went right back to Ronda and Shayna when she learned that, and management knew that Liv came back earlier than expected. She was ready to go earlier than expected. And, I was still expecting that case to be for Raquel to go after Rhea Ripley, had Liv and Raquel were booked to lose. So it brings up an interesting point, Who does Rhea face now at SummerSlam, now that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are back together and are once again tag team champions? Unless they do some stupid ass betrayal angle with them, which would be pretty dumb. Neither of them to be honest, should be turning heel, especially not Liv Morgan. Please don't do that. And then you also have Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus / Zoe Stark still feuding with each other. So it's like, yeah, going back to my point from like 2 months ago, where's the competition for Rhea Ripley, WWE? Like, you have, I don't really care so much for Rhea Ripley, but I'm trying to help you out here. Build her up some damn competition here. Like, you just gave her a new women's title and she's still doing nothing with it. All she's doing is like, what? She's going to defend it for the millionth time against Natalya on Raw in Baltimore this Monday? Like, come on here. This is the best you can do? Like, I get it. You're trying to save the major matches with Becky, Liv, Raquel for later. But you have to, like, at least try to build some competition. Like, try to rebuild, like, the back half of your division and then have them face Rhea first. It's not hard. It is not hard. So anyway, again, Shayna Baszler is no longer partners with Ronda Rousey. I was, like, again, very surprised that this happened this soon. So they're heading towards a match at SummerSlam. I just don't know where Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez go from here. You know, they are women's tag team champions, but it's like, who do they defend it against now? It's like, they've faced Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville so many times, but it's like, they can't face Kaden and Katana, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, but it's like, those teams haven't really gotten too much TV time and traction. Maybe they go to NXT and see whatever makeshift team they can face. But anyway, it's like, this whole thing was like, fuck, that was insane. That was pretty insane. I was really shocked by that. So overall, this women's tag team title match, I mean, it was whatever, but the tag team title scene is just like, oof. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I like Liv Morgan, but it's just like, fuck. This whole tag team title scene is like, oh god. Now we move on to the Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther and Matt Riddle. And I gotta be honest with you, this match was not great. This is very uneventful. Like, Matt Riddle tried to take down Gunther with a lot of submissions, like a lot of technical submissions, but Gunther clearly overpowering him as he would go after Riddle's injured ankle. Riddle did try to rally with like his signature moves, like the floating bro, and going for one last gasp with the triangle choke, but Gunther was just too much. He would power out and lock in his own submission, like with the Boston Crab, and then to stop Riddle from escaping, he literally slapped his foot, his injured foot. Like, ew, you got a foot fetish? What are you, Dan Snyder? Like, come on, man, gross. Anyway, so after he slapped his foot, he locked in an ankle lock to make Matt Riddle tap out. I mean, I was okay with the finish. After what was an uneventful match. I mean, pretty different than, you know, using the power bomb. So not bad. Making things a little different for Gunther's matches. But what was interesting was the return of a certain Scottish psychopath, and of course that being Drew McIntyre, who we hadn't seen since WrestleMania, and he marched straight down to the ring and confronted the still Intercontinental Champion. And then after he was brushed off by Gunther, Drew hit him with a Glasgow kiss and a Claymore to make it known that he wants what he could have won back at WrestleMania. So, wow. Like, I'm really happy Drew is back, and he clearly looks healthy once again. That was likely the reason that he took so much time off after WrestleMania. And I know there was a lot of speculation that, he's unhappy with this creative direction, but we'll see. Like, it's reports are saying that he still hasn't signed a new contract with WWE, but hopefully, now that he's back, hopefully WWE gives him a better creative direction going forward. Because, you know, Drew looks like he's a really good wrestler, and, you know, he really connects with the fans. So, yeah, I'm really happy to have him back, and I wouldn't be opposed to Drew McIntyre dethroning Gunther. And I know they're really trying to push towards Gunther breaking the Honky Tonk Man's record, but, you know, it wouldn't be too bad for McIntyre to dethrone Gunther, maybe at SummerSlam or maybe at the pay-per-view after. But nonetheless, good to see McIntyre back, and hopefully in a better direction now that he's healthy. So next up, we had a matchup that really had no business being on this card, and that's Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. Like, literally, I don't understand what the whole basis of this feud was. It was because, like, Dominic was trying to prove that Cody's a deadbeat dad, just like Rey Mysterio, and Cody's just like, oh, can you be a man for once? Like, not hiding behind your mommy, Rhea Ripley. Like, seriously, I'm tired of that mommy shit. And for the love of God, like, I know it sounds like the S word. Like, can someone please stand up to Rhea Ripley for once, please? Can WWE, like, please stop it with this bullshit? If Randy Orton was out there, she would RKO Rhea Ripley instantly. I'm sorry to say it. Like, someone really needs to have some nuts and, like, stand up to Rhea Ripley. Like, I'm tired of, like, the men looking like wusses. Like, staring down Rhea Ripley. Like, god damn. It looks so stupid. So anyway, as for this match, pre-match, to be honest with you, let me start with that. This is like a weird. This was like going back to that thing I was talking about with the tunnel setup. This was one of those like examples of why I really hate it, because look at Cody Rhodes' entrance without the pyro, with that awkward like setup, because when he's doing, after he did the whoa, and then he does the boom, that like, it just looks like so awkward. I'm sorry, it looks so awkward. It's like, without most of Cody's pyro, it just looks so weird. It looks like a jobber entrance. It's like, oh, you ride to the party, like, hey, bitches, and then you're trying to make this grand entrance, but then, oh, there's a malfunction, sorry. And then you try to finish it off like the boom, and then nothing's there. And everyone's just looking at you like, is this guy on drugs? Is this guy high? Is he on crack? That's what Cody Rhodes' entrance at Money in the Bank felt like. And that's why I don't like these tunnel entrances. It makes things like really awkward, especially for wrestlers that rely on pyro for the entrances. And they have to rely on, like, what was it? That overhead thing to give them like pyro. Like, come on, that's so awkward. Like, why can't we have a creative stage from even 2013? 2013 even had a creative Money in the Bank stage, you know, with all the bank vans and the ladders. Is it too hard to ask? Is it really too hard to ask? Now, as for the match itself, like, this was basically a glorified Raw match. Dominic was just running around, playing pussy to Cody. And then he slapped Cody again, but that just pissed off Cody Rhodes, because he revealed that the injured hand, or the injured arm that Brock Lesnar injured back at Night of Champions, is fully healthy. So he had no need for the arm cast anymore. And yeah, Cody Rhodes went on the attack, and Dominic kept trying to run every chance he got. But then here we go again. Rhea Ripley getting in the face of Cody, and Cody's not doing anything because I don't know why. And then Rhea Ripley even attacked Cody while Dominic was distracting the ref. And then for a moment in time, it allowed Dominic to control the match. So later on, you had a little bit of back and forth. Dominic tried to hit a 619 on Cody, but Cody caught him and hit a spinning Alabama slam. And then Cody would finish him off with a Cody cutter and one last crossroads to win the match. Yes, just one crossroads. That's all it took. Not 3, not 2, just 1. So honestly, I don't really think we needed this matchup. I mean, it was probably just a way for people to really boo Dominic out of the building and get Cody Rhodes on the card just so people could sing his theme song, which I don't mind. Like, I don't mind his theme song, to be honest with you. But this just felt like a match on Raw, man. Like, this was like really unnecessary, because all it was just like Cody chasing around Dominic getting some offense in, Rhea getting in the face of men again, and then Cody finishing it off for the kind of easy win. I would understand if there was a real purpose behind it, like Brock Lesnar. I really thought Brock Lesnar was going to show up and then cost Cody Rhodes the match, because honestly, that would have made more sense. Like, even if their own feud makes no sense, because wouldn't it have been better for Brock Lesnar to show up, cost Cody Rhodes the match behind the referee's back, And then Dominic can go on the next Raw and say, I beat Cody Rhodes in front of like a sea of boos. Wouldn't that have been better? Like, you know, to further establish Dominic's heel character, like, you know, him beating Cody on the following Raw, you know, like that would be like him being an asshole heel, him bragging about that fact, in air quotes, by the way. So instead, you know, you have Cody beating Dominic clean, and then you have no Brock Lesnar. Again, Brock Lesnar's supposed to be on the next Raw to further their feud, whatever that it may be. But I don't know, man. This match was just filler and basically just a house show match. That's all it felt like on pay-per-view. So next match, not next match, there's actually a segment before the next match, and this caught me by real surprise. John Cena made an appearance in front of the London crowd like nobody was expecting this. Like absolutely no one. And that actually is the best part, you know, when you don't see anything coming like this. So John Cena comes out. He basically gives you your typical song and dance promo that he was in London simply because for the London crowd. And he was basically giving them props and saying thank you to them. But then he goes on to give like the actual reason why he was there. He then goes on to announce that the decision makers, like probably like, you know, the front office, like corporate and all that, may not like them or make things finite, but he wants to do everything in his power to bring WrestleMania to London. So yeah, they're really, John Cena or like the WWE are really going to try their damnedest to bring WrestleMania to London. However logistically possible that can be. Grayson Waller does come out to suck John Cena's nuts, but he disagrees with this idea of WrestleMania in London and gives his own idea of WrestleMania in Australia because that's where Grayson Waller is from. John Cena rejected not only the pitch for WrestleMania in Australia, but also to be Grayson Waller's next guest on the Grayson Waller effect. And then after that, Grayson Waller would attack Cena, which probably shows that Grayson Waller is fully healthy from that broken leg injury from NXT Stand and Deliver a couple months ago. And then Cena gave him an attitude adjustment, and that was that. So again, I was not totally expecting John Cena at all. But you know, even though he gave a very corporate promo, the news of WrestleMania London is a very interesting one. I'm not sure how much planning is going to go there for the WWE. But I will say it will be a nice change of pace. The only thing is that huge time zone difference. That's why I'm kind of not a fan of Money in the Bank in London. I mean, I like that the London people got a major pay-per-view there, but it's just like, for me, living here on the West Coast, it's like such a huge time difference. Like, just imagine if it started like, let's say 2 to 5 in London time. That's like around morning time here in California. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to wake up early ass o'clock to watch that. I mean, I can, but I don't know if I will. So that's a large reason why the NFL is like very hesitant on doing the Super Bowl overseas, because, you know, of the huge time zone difference, not just in London, but like trying to broadcast that nationally, because that's like a big issue. But I mean, you know, for the WWE, doesn't hurt in trying it out. Like, really, I would be on board with that. It's just a matter of, can you really pull this off? Can you really pull this off? So next up, we had the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and your participants were Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Io Sky, and Trish Stratus. So most of your field was basically women's teams and Becky Lynch and Zelina Vega. Throughout the history of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, the match itself, it's not of good quality. There's been a lot of botches, a lot of sloppy moments, and yeah, the winners, the history behind it, it's honestly not great. It's honestly not great. Now, one of my personal favorite winners last year, Liv Morgan, it was good, but the follow-up obviously was not great. And then Carmella, like the very first one, was like the one good one, like the actual like good one, because she actually held the briefcase for a longer time. And then when the cash-in moment came, it was a good moment, but again, the follow-up was not so great. So when it comes to this matchup, we didn't even have to wait for our first botch. Like, it didn't even happen during the match. It happened like literally, like when the first 30 seconds of the ring entrances. And man, Samantha Irvin, come on, man. Like, I'm not sure what you were doing here. But at least she's like playing along with it, because apparently she thought that Bayley already broke up Damage Control and then joined the Judgment Day. I was like, what? The crowd was also not liking that. It was like, Bayley, you already betrayed EO without acknowledging it, and then somehow you became the new mommy, like the new member of Judgment Day. And it's like, when did this happen? Like, what? Okay. So yeah, Samantha Irvin's probably gonna end up on Botchamania. At least she's playing along with it, so credit to that. As for this match itself, as expected, both heel teams were going after the baby faces, which the only ones were being Becky Lynch and Zelina Vega. But, you know, they were still at least colliding with each other because they had their own intentions, you know, with Damage Control and then Zelina Vega. No, not Zelina. I keep saying that because, you know, there's two Z's in this match. Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus were going after Damage Control. They were still collide with each other. And then, of course, later on, you would get the typical let's get it, everyone, in a circle jerk, except now it's on the women's side with Io Sky moonsaulting onto everyone from the top of the ladder. So there's that spot. And then Becky and Trish would briefly team up with each other, just like they did against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez before that betrayal took place. And then they took out Zelina Vega as well as Bayley and Io Sky before they went after each other's throats again. And then Zoe Stark knocked out Becky Lynch and then attempted to handcuff her to the ropes, but then she took too long and then Becky recovered. And then she managed to take out Trish with a rock bottom or manhandle slam, whatever you call it, onto a ladder. And then she would get knocked out by Zoe Stark again, who would meet Zelina Vega at the top of a ladder in the ring. And then Vega would hit a code red or like sunset flip powerbomb from the top of a wedge ladder. And from the top onto a wedge ladder, sorry. But then Io Sky would be revived, be the last woman standing as she made her attempted climb to the briefcase. But then all of a sudden, it starts tilting. And the reason why it starts tilting is because Bayley, her Damage Control teammate, the dissension is playing up John. Bayley pushed Io Sky off the ladder before she made her own descent. But then Becky Lynch would awaken from the ashes and make one last desperation play at the briefcase along with Bayley, and they were trying to make that climb and fight each other, but the desperation cost them both, as the handcuffs that were attached to Becky Lynch became instincts for Io Sky. She handcuffed both Becky and Bayley to in between the ladder rungs, and she climbed over her Damage Control teammate to claim the briefcase herself and claim herself as the new Miss Money in the Bank. So, yeah, this was honestly not a bad match. And I gotta say, this was probably one of the cleanest Women's Money in the Bank ladder matches in its lifespan. Probably the cleanest. And yeah, that's not saying much, but I'll say they did pretty decent in this match. Although there were times that Trish Stratus looked scared and there were a few bad spots, most of this match, you know, I'd say it was pretty solid, pretty decent. And also advanced the feuds that it needed to, even if I'm not personally into it. And it also had a pretty creative finish. I will give credit where credit's due with that finish. You know, Io Sky being creative, playing up to that instinct of, oh, I could take advantage of this situation with Becky still having those handcuffs onto her wrist and then taping it, cuffing it to Bayley. And now they can't go up on that ladder. I can't deny that finish was pretty good. So going forward, you know, I probably assume that Io Sky is probably going to be that first woman to fail her cash in, but I don't think it's going to be your fault because a certain role model is going to find her way to cost her that cash in. Meanwhile, the other women's story that's going on in that matchup, Becky versus Trish / Zoe, I feel like it's going to finally have a finale at SummerSlam. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how much longer they want to drag that out. So next up, we have the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. And can I just say before I talk about this match, I really do not like Seth Rollins' stupid ass theme song. I did not like it when I went to WrestleMania. I was just like crossed my arms when I was there. It just makes Seth Rollins look like a mark, as if he was in a mark already. But it's just so annoying. Like Seven Nation Army is a much cooler, I guess, so, like I don't know what, like a anthem. That's the word, anthem. It's a much better anthem than Visionary. It's a much better anthem than Visionary is, because all people are doing is it's like moaning. It's like very bad moaning. At least when you're listening to Seven Nation Army, when you're at an NFL game, or when Pat McAfee had his entrance last year at WrestleMania, people were super hyped. People were super hyped for Pat McAfee. It felt like you were at a Super Bowl. It's like, whoa, oh. You felt that legit energy. How do you feel it with this? It's not Rollins' theme song. So it's just very stupid. I'm like really annoyed with how Seth Rollins does like absolute like nothing, especially in that one segment with Finn Balor, where he just let everyone sing. He wouldn't do anything to diffuse. I mean, I get Finn Balor's a heel. Seth Rollins was just like, nah, I'm not gonna do anything, but at least do something to kind of diffuse it. I don't know, but either way, I will say this to end my little rant here. Seth Rollins is not over. His lame ass theme song is, because all Rollins is without it is just he's just laughing. He's just a lamer version of Joker that just likes to dress funny. That's all he is. So as for this match, Finn Balor, he would frequently target the injured ribs that he injured on Seth Rollins, but Rollins would try to rally, but Balor would stop every big move he tried to pull off. And after rolling out of Balor's coup de grace finisher, Rollins would hit a pedigree, but because his ribs were injured, the delay in covering resulted in a near fall. And then, for the most part, this match was very uninteresting. A lot of technical work rate, pal, in this matchup. But things did pick up when Damian Priest showed up, seemingly ready to cash in his newly won Money in the Bank contract. Perhaps like the way that Seth did back at WrestleMania 31. Hell, Seth even dared him to do it, just like he did back at that time. But Priest continued to play mind games. He took a seat at ringside with the briefcase, and Finn Balor took advantage. He hit Seth Rollins with coup de grace twice on the outside, and then he rolled him back into the ring, ready to hit one last one that could potentially win him the World Heavyweight title. But then when he was about to hit it, Damian Priest stood up and then decided to take a closer look. And that quick 5 seconds with Finn Balor looking at Damian Priest, it would cost Finn Balor. It distracted him. And then Rollins would roll out of the way and then hit a curb stomp to retain his World Heavyweight title. So, this matchup really didn't do it for me. Even then, the backstory, there's not too lot behind it other than Finn Balor wanting revenge for what Seth Rollins did back at SummerSlam 2016 for injuring him. But, Damian Priest's involvement in the end, it made things a little interesting. And, it also makes things slightly interesting going forward with, Balor and Priest, furthering that dissension. And also, it serves revenge for Balor costing Priest his own World Heavyweight title match. So maybe Balor gets another rematch at SummerSlam. I don't know. I really hope they don't bring back the Demon, because, it's kind of useless at this point. But nonetheless, Seth Rollins retains his World Heavyweight title against Finn Balor. So now we get to the main event, the match that we've all been waiting for in the last month. And that is, of course, the Bloodline Civil War. Roman Reigns and Sikoa going up against the Usos in WWE's version of Captain America Civil War. Hell, they even did the video package, kind of like the trailer for Captain America Civil War. it was that video package, final video package before the match. I really enjoyed it. It detailed nearly every single thing in the Bloodline's history, like almost every single thing in the Bloodline's history except for the Sami Zayn part. But it focused on the family history, but leading up to Jey Uso's betrayal, Jimmy Uso's betrayal, and then the previous night on SmackDown. So I really liked the match promo before. It's like it really got you like, you know, ready to sit down, crisscross applesauce, ready to have your eyes glued into this matchup. So both of them come out, and then they get like the championship like introductions, like, you know, as if it was a championship match. And then like I'll get this out of the way first. When I heard the referee saying, "Okay, you start this 1-on-1," and I was like, "Aw, this is a standard tag team match." Like, fuck. Like, I really thought, I was kind of initially disappointed that they really didn't decide to like make this kind of like tornado tag, no disqualification, because like I think I said this before, you really could have benefited from a no disqualification, like hardcore type stipulation with this Bloodline Civil War thing, like especially, you know, living up to its billing of that. But it's kind of weird that they're, for, you know, if it's like a Bloodline Civil War, you just go for a standard tag team match. I mean, I was still hoping that they had like at least a good tag team match here. So, you know, after Jimmy and Solo got into it to start, and it looked like Jey was going to continue the momentum for the Usos once he tagged in, but then Roman decided that he wanted in. And then, you know, after, you know, that tense moment on SmackDown where Roman was laughing at the fact that Solo could become the tribal chief, they had that tense stare down. And then Solo tagged in after like a good minute of that. And then it became Roman versus Jey, where it all began. And then after a little bit of back and forth, the Usos dared a double super kick early on. And then Paul Heyman decided to have a group meeting. And then that group meeting was enough for Roman to get back on offense, and pretty much for Roman and Solo to take control of the match from there. And it was kind of funny. Like the crowd during this portion of the match was pretty much like singing. Like they were kind of singing along here, saying, "If you hate Roman, please stand up. If you hate Roman, please stand up." And then Roman was like on the apron, clearly irritated by it, just like bitching to Paul Heyman about it. It's like he even sat down. It's like, "Why are we here? This is like the worst place ever." That's kind of funny. And then after what felt like several minutes of Roman and Solo whooping Jimmy's ass around, things really started to pick up from there. Jimmy made a desperation clothesline to the outside on Roman, and then he finally got a hot tag to Jey. So Jey goes on a tear on Solo and Roman, and then after like a good 2 minutes of that, Roman ends the rally with 2 Superman punches. But as Roman was going for the spear, Jimmy blind tagged in, and then the Usos hit a double spear of their own, but Solo came in at the last moment to break up the pin. So now things are really starting to pick up. Now both sides are up. They're both in the ring, and now maybe the Civil War can finally pick up. So now they start going at each other, but then back in the ring, Roman hits a Superman punch on Jimmy for another near fall, and then Jimmy reversed a spear into a super kick, and it looked like they were going to win. The Usos were going to win with the Uso splash, but Roman caught him with the guillotine. But Jimmy would find life and power out, and Jey would tag himself in. But then Roman would still lock the guillotine on Jimmy when Jimmy's not the legal man. And you kind of knew where this was going. Shenanigans, pal. Shenanigans. The ref tried to break it up, but Roman accidentally knocked out the referee. And 1D from the Usos, one and done, meant nothing because there was no referee. So you know what that meant. Shenanigans. So the Usos were going to go for the double splash on Roman. Solo reappeared and stopped it from happening. And then him and Roman gave a rock bottom to both the Usos. Uranagi, whatever. I'm calling it a rock bottom because that's basically what it looks like. So Solo would hit Jimmy with a Samoan spike, And then Roman and Solo hit this cool looking Samoan spike spear combo on Jay before they did a callback to WrestleMania 37 with Edge and Daniel Bryan, with Roman stacking and what's the tagline? Whatever. Spearing, stacking. I don't know the tagline. I didn't watch WrestleMania 37. I just know that image. They're gonna stack Jimmy and Jay just like he stacked Edge and Daniel Bryan. But unlike WrestleMania 37, the Usos found another life. They kicked out, and all of a sudden, Roman and Solo, they looked like they had no answers. Even Paul Heyman's like, "What are we gonna do?" And then Solo found an answer. Just start beating the living shit out of them. So Solo would try to crush Jimmy through the announce table, but then Jimmy moved out of the way at the last moment. So Solo basically out of this matchup. And then back in the ring, Roman would spear Jay after a little bit of back and forth between super kicks and Superman punches. But then another callback. In a reversal of fortune from Night of Champions 2020, Jay would kick out. But he didn't just kick out. He kicked out by hitting Roman in the dick with a low blow. He dick punched him, just like Roman did back in Night of Champions when it all started. So really good callback there. So now that Roman's all alone, he's vulnerable. Solo Sikoa's like pretty much knocked out, and the Usos would knock him out again with a double super kick. The Usos would have a super kick party on their way to victory, capped off with one Jey Uso and an Uso splash in a slightly symbolic victory in this Civil War. I say slightly because maybe this is where Roman gets his payback on Jey in the next month. But for now, it's a symbolic victory for the Usos in this Civil War. For all the crap, for all the bullshit that Roman put him through for the last 3 years. So, wow. That match. I will say, it's not to deny that this match was still good. I just wish, that it could have, I just wish it had like some kind of like no disqualification, tornado tag, like stipulation, but again, not to deny that, the match was good because, the shenanigans that ensued in the second half, I think, that no DQ stipulation would have really benefited from it. You didn't have to rely, again, on the ref bump shenanigans. But nonetheless, you did play a story. You did continue to elevate the storytelling element in this Bloodline feud. So I can't really complain too much. I will just say, though, the first half of this match started off really slow, but then you kicked it into another gear. That's why I thought this match was good. You kicked it to another gear. Once Jey Uso finally got the hot tag, then that's when you really started going to work. That's when you start to build up that story. But yeah, I can't really complain too much on this match other than, I kind of wish that it had a stipulation. And there are a lot of really nice moments in this match, like the ending. The ending with Jey pinning Roman in not only his first pinfall loss since 2019, but Jey like being the first one to pin Roman when he was at the Shield back in 2013, and then 10 years later, being the first one to pin him since Baron Corbin did it back at TLC 2019. Like, dude, this is like full circle, like kind of like a full circle moment for Jey. So yeah, like that was like a really wholesome moment right there. Now, some people will question whether it was the right decision to have Roman take the pin there, but I don't think it hurts them in the grand scheme of things. It was like nothing was on the line there, and it creates this sense of vulnerability to his character, and it gives the audience a sense that Roman can be beat, and the Usos, whether it's Jimmy or Jey, they can beat him when it matters most for the undisputed WWE title. And that possibility, while still kind of a split one at this rate, especially considering that Jey pinned him in a match that didn't have the titles on the line, it's still on the table in a month's time at SummerSlam. Or maybe even at Payback. I don't know. So I will say this to end this portion off. I still would have liked a no DQ stipulation, but I really enjoyed everything once Jay got into this match, and the story that that eventually played out. I really enjoyed that too. So now they're going in the direction of Roman versus Jay at SummerSlam, or maybe even a triple threat or a handicap match with Roman versus the Usos with the title on the line, or a fatal four-way. I don't know. But either way, I'm looking forward to what's happening next with this Bloodline Civil War. Yes, it technically is still a civil war. So I'm looking forward to what happens next. So overall, I thought this show was, for the most part, pretty solid. I still hate the minimalist set for as much as Triple H likes it for whatever damn reason, but the crowd was very into it. The London crowd can get very smarky, but they weren't too smarky tonight. They didn't try to take over per usual, but they were very into it. Like, they really genuinely seemed to enjoy it, and that's pretty cool to see. I don't mind the Money in the Bank winners, Damon Priest and Io Sky. Damon Priest, he is kind of the right choice because it advances his story with the Judgment Day, whether people care about it or not. At the end of the day, and Io Sky, it also furthers that dissension with Bayley. Again, whether people care about it or not. So pretty much safe picks for Money in the Bank. And, I thought the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was not that bad either. Again, it's just, I think Io's going to be that first woman to fail her cash in, but not to fault of her own. And then you had a lot of surprises in the first 2 hours of that show that made this show very solid. That will either make you say, wow, Damon Priest actually won Money in the Bank, or leave you thinking, with Shayna Baszler turning on Ronda Rousey out of nowhere when they were on the verge of winning against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And then last but not least, the Bloodline Civil War, it mostly lived up to its name, even without the stipulation. But it was still a good main event. Now let's see how WWE does with a month's time to SummerSlam in Detroit, and especially now towards this mega money match between what's likely going to be Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for what matters most, the undisputed WWE Championship. So I'm excited to see where that goes. So yeah, that is my review of WWE Money in the Bank 2023 from London, mate, in the O2 Arena on July 1st, 2023. What did you guys think about this show? Did you watch it? Did you care for it? Did you not watch it at all? I'd like to know your thoughts on this show from London, England. And let me know your thoughts on the Money in the Bank winners, the Bloodline Civil War, Ronda Rousey getting betrayed by Shayna Baszler out of nowhere. All your thoughts on this show, whether it's in the comments on YouTube or on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. DM me at Cold Lasagna. I'd like to know your thoughts on this show. And yeah, that is it for this review and for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna, episode number 149 of this icy yet spicy podcast. On the next episode, on episode number 150, we will resume NFL season preview month with part 2 as we take a look at the NFC North division with the Detroit Lions, who will be hosting SummerSlam next month, the Chicago Bears football, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. So whether you're an NFL fan or not, I hope you take a look at that episode coming soon this week. So anyway, that's it for me. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna. Keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.